guys. I'd like to call to order the meeting of May 24th, 2021 of the Oconee County Board of Zoning Appeals. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes for 4/26/21. Can I hear a motion to approve the minutes, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to look at them? Any changes, corrections, any concerns? All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, we have 6. Motion approved, 6-0. Okay, let me just briefly outline how this will work. The first thing we'll have is the applicant for the variance will have 5 minutes to come up and present their request. We'll work with you on the time limit, but please don't go terribly long. Staff then will address any issues that they have, any explanatory comments they may have. Then any citizens who have comments be welcome to make their comments. 5-minute limit on those. And then once the citizen comments are done, the applicant will have a chance to rebut those comments or make any further clarifications that they may want to make. And then the board will consider. Now, number 1, when you have a chance to speak, like those in the audience, please make sure you say everything you want to say, because once we close the comments, then we decide and we don't want to hear anything more. On occasion, we've had someone come up and say, hey, you didn't think about this. Well, we didn't think about it because no one said anything. And second of all, address all your comments to us. Do not talk to anyone else in the audience, please. Just address your comments to us. So without further ado, we'll consider variance request VA 21-007, Spectrum Builders. Mr. Ken Palmer, I assume, is going to speak. Contractor is requesting 9-foot variance from the required 10-foot setback line to permit a deck for a home at 241 Inlet Point Road. Fairplay 29643, tax ID number 341-01-01-017. Mr. Palmer? Yes, please. Please come up, state your name, and then you have about 5 minutes.
All right, my name is Ken Palmer, Spectrum Builders. So I am the second builder to kind of move in on this house. The first builder bowed out for whatever reasons he had. Did you guys get a copy? Because I sent it to Vivian late today because the surveyors were off last week and we couldn't get it revised till today. Do you guys have a copy?
All they see is what's on the screen because it was so late.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So, I'm sorry. Okay, it is there. So the 9-foot is really not what we're after. We kind of messed up the 3-foot we already had. So we're actually only asking for 7 feet, which is going to keep us about 5 foot and some change, 4 foot and some change off the property line. 5'3", I think, off the core line. So that was a little change right there. But in the original house plan, from what I've been told, and they can attest to some things that they'll tell you that I don't know, but they were under the impression, given from the other builder, that they had 10-foot decks everywhere. And that's kind of what they went with. And the guy's name is Tommy. He's the other builder. I don't know his last name. But he was telling them that it would not be a problem, that we can make everything happen for you. Well, then, lo and behold, he bows out of the job and says he can't do it. And so, like I said, I got hired to do the job, and then when I showed them on the plan what he actually had drawn, it was not a 10-foot deck. It was only 3 foot. And so I said, this won't work. You know, after we set the house, we had no idea of the 10-foot set. I mean, the 10-foot setback from the property line is where I guess this neighborhood has a setback. Because I always thought you could build right up to the edge of the core and not go over the core. On some of the houses that I've built in the past, we've been able to do that. And then we just you know, we're making note that there's some other houses here that have gone up to the property line, or the core line, I should say. And these folks are just requesting to get an additional 7 feet, not 9, to make that happen, for them, to give them a 10, 10, and 10 deck on the back of their house.
Okay, so when I looked at the property the other day,
Yeah.
you have, looks like you have decks framed on each side.
Right.
There's a bust out, I would call it, going out of the lakeside.
Right.
And then on each side, you've got decks framed. You want a deck in the center also.
Correct, and if you were out there, I don't know if you were out there before those decks were built, or
Saturday.
Saturday, okay, so you saw the board that was extending on out? We just extended it on out where it was gonna go. In the event you guys ended up letting them do that, it's already there. If not, we just cut it off and go about our business. But I wanted somebody to see where it was actually coming to. So it is about 5 foot actually off the core. Not the 1 foot that we originally thought, because we were not calculating what was already there. So, I mean, that's pretty much everything in a nutshell.
I'm having trouble with the math. I'm still trying. Can you go through it one more time?
Well, if you look on the screen right there, it shows 5'3" off the property line. That is, the 5'3" is what he just done today. I'm just now seeing this. So, the 5'3" is what the surveyor did for us today. And that's how far we're actually, I thought it was actually gonna be 1 foot, because I was thinking 10 foot further than what we already had, but that wasn't the case. We already had 3. We only needed 7 more to get our 10 that we were after. And it comes out to be 5'3" from the property line.
Can I clarify that? That's what I want, that the northern 78 and western 84, that's core line, not property line, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, I just want to make sure. I see the 5'3".
yeah.
but
The
that's
core
not
line on their property kind of runs at an angle. From the right side, it kind of angles out toward the next property on the left side.
The core line is the property line, isn't it, in the back?
Yeah,
I mean, you own down to the core line. Folks
Yeah.
own down to the core line.
right, right.
And that's 50 feet, kind of, from the lake. Is the core line about 50 feet from the lake?
Oh, no,
No,
it's probably 150.
Changes according to the property.
Yeah, it does.
Does, okay.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
probably 100 feet from
Yeah,
the,
oh, okay.
from the lake. Maybe a little more.
So just to restate what I think you're saying, right now the deck is at 5'3",
No, right now, the deck is at 3 feet.
3 feet.
Yeah, like you were saying, if you look right there, I can show you right here
Point it out.
what I'm talking about. So, the 10-foot deck's right here, and then there's a 3-foot walkway right here, and right there, and there's another 10-foot deck right here. Well, their view is here, so what they're requesting is to get a 10-foot deck right here, which we already have 3, we just need this much more, which is encroaching on the 10 feet setback.
So how big a new deck could be built there if you stayed within the setback line?
3 feet.
You'd only do 3 feet from the
Yes,
back of the house.
because it was
proper.
pushed back as far as it could go in the original set of the house.
So what you'd have basically is a walkway to the other 2 decks?
Yes, sir.
You have a walkway between the 2 decks, 3 foot wide.
Yeah.
That is correct.
And the other 2 decks could be 10 foot.
That is correct. Because the house sets back in.
Yeah.
Understand,
Right, yeah.
understand.
And this is a subdivision covenant that says that it has a 10-foot setback.
I think that is the case. We don't really know. That's kind of what, I don't think there's any
Well, we're going a little bit out of
governing
order here.
party of the subdivision.
A little bit out of order here. Vivian, what's the county, we're talking about county setback.
10-foot setback on this.
So we're not worried about subdivision. Subdivision,
Okay.
you guys gotta deal with your subdivision on your own.
Yeah. So we're dealing with
County
the county
setback, and the county
setback.
setback is 10 foot and 5 foot on the side.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay,
Correct.
so that's what we're concerned with.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we all understand what he's asking for. The various he's asking for. Okay. Thank you, sir. You can have a seat.
I have one
Oh,
question
okay.
before you get that. If you bring that out 10, to 10 feet, are you gonna bring the other 2 10 feet
No.
up there? So it's gonna.
No, it's
have
gonna
a
just
dock.
go just like the house.
Okay, thank you, sir. You can have a seat.
All right, thanks.
Okay, Mr. or Mrs. Brabiner, you're here? Mr. Brabiner, John?
So, John and Marcia Bravender, thanks for taking the time and having a special meeting just for this topic. We're at 245 Inlet Point Road as you face the lake for the house on the right-hand side. And I want to thank Vivian, first of all, for talking to the builder when they were building the house without the permit for the deck extension, and for her passing along the information I gave to you. I appreciate that. So I promise I won't read all 10 pages I sent you for my case, but in general, we're just trying to preserve the value of our retirement home, the sight lines, and the livability of our property. And there's a couple things that have gone on with this property. One is when we had first right of refusal, which is not germane to you, but one of the reasons we didn't buy the lot was when I bought my lot 4 years ago, I was given 6 feet roughly of that lot as part of my deed. So it was resurveyed, redeeded. So that lot is very small, smaller than the original subdivision. I talked to the county with DHEC about a septic tank permit. They said it can only get a 3-bedroom house septic tank permit. On the old lot, they sent me a picture, which I have in the package, of that permit, but the new lot's smaller. They weren't sure if it was even permittable for a septic tank. I also talked to the county about zoning a 10-foot setback, and they said, yes, the 10-foot setback will be honored. I requested twice and met with the builder, the previous builder, Tommy Hood, twice, and said, you're following the setbacks, right? Absolutely. This house is designed for a 10-foot setback, 5 foot on the sides. So what's happened is over the last couple of years is this house is very big for the size of lot, and now too late in the day, they were already building the house and building the deck when the notification for the hearing came out. So it's like we're just being assumed that we should go along with everything. And what we're asking for in general is just to follow the rules as they were explained to by the county and DHEC people 2 years ago. And I did my part. I asked and asked and asked and was told by the homeowners, direct all questions to the builder. He's in charge of this. So as you know, the plan they filed, which is a plan they worked on for years, was based on a 10-foot setback. And this late addition, we don't think is fair to us as we preserve the value of our home and our sight lines to the lake. I guess one thing I'd like to also point out is we built our house. We did not build our house. It's 30 years old plus. Our deck is on the core line, a foot back roughly. I have no idea what the rules were back then. I'm told that it was 2012 roughly when the county put in the new setback rules. So to say that they're just trying to match our deck with theirs is not fair, because I've been told if my house burns down and I want to rebuild that house, it's going to have a 10-foot setback. So we're just asking for the rules to be upheld, and I won't read all that stuff to you, but and there's the case and pictures, and that's what's going on. Plus, one last comment. The house plan, which I haven't been shared except when I asked about this deck a couple of weeks ago, May 7th actually, it shows some side entrances on the garage and things which, you know, the garage is literally 6 feet, maybe 6.5 feet from my property line. It's got an exit out of the garage, which is framed in, that comes out toward me. I don't know how you get steps out of a garage that's 3 or 4 feet in the air to the ground without coming within the 5-foot setback of my property again. So I'm just trying to set some guidelines to control what happens going forward. And that's what we're here for.
Any questions for Mr. Bremer?
I have one. What is your specific objection to what they're doing? I'm having.
It does affect.
Other than the fact that you want them to stay within the 10 foot.
Listen, it's a lake house, a lake neighborhood.
Yeah.
The fact their house is very expensive for the neighborhood, that's their choice. On my deck, the reason I didn't buy the lot was I was told there would not be a deck parallel to me off of the next lot. It had to be a 10-foot setback. You know, my neighbor just put in a trailer home, and he was denied putting a bigger one in his deck because of the 10-foot setback. The previous guy, Adam, I think maybe was the previous, he came out and said, no, you can't put that here. You got to have a 10-foot setback on all 4 corners, which caused a smaller. So we're all under that impression, right? And what, your question about what's it do to me, it affects my sight line toward the lake from the left side of my deck, which I understand. And I just don't know what's next, right?
From the street, you're on the right-hand side?
Yes, sir.
You're on the right-hand side, so. But when you're looking at if you look at a Google map of the property, there's a vast amount of property out in front before you even get to the lake.
There
And
is.
It looks like a lot of trees and.
And that's all core property there, yeah.
Core, but what is the site there? It's basically looking
Straight
at
ahead,
trees?
there's not an obstruction, it's to the, so straight ahead, there's not an obstruction, it's to the side. I think there's a photograph in there of that
Yeah.
deck extension. So, part of our complaint is, without rehashing other things which aren't germane to this topic, we just don't know what's coming next, and there has to be some, I hope you guys will rule that following the rules is the right thing to do, and the fact that their previous builder and them designed a house which had a deck smaller than they wanted is not my fault.
And as I looked at your view, you're talking about the view off to the left. You've got a view of pretty much the whole lake out there,
Off the front of the deck, yeah.
out the front of even if they put the deck in. It's a
Off
little
the
bit,
front,
it's
yeah.
a little bit to the left.
Off the front, that's correct.
I'm not minimizing your request, I'm just trying to
That's all right,
understand.
I
I'm
understand.
just trying to understand you're kind of out on a point there, and you've got
Right.
a view of pretty much the whole lake. Okay, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Bradford? Understanding what is,
I'd like to make one last comment, if I can,
Surely.
sorry. I trust the surveyor, and I have not been on their property to measure, but I would like to have that confirmed before anything, that setback in those dimensions, because it doesn't seem that way when you look at those extensions of those deck boards.
you don't have that power
No, I agree.
to confirm that. They need to, whatever is agreed to build, whatever we agree on setbacks tonight, they have to build to that, and then they need to demonstrate that to the county before they get a
Okay.
certificate of occupancy.
Fair enough.
We can't direct that or.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, I'd like it to be verified sometime, so.
Okay, fine, thank you, sir,
Thank you
appreciate
for
your
your time, I
comments.
appreciate that.
Can we come up together?
But yes, you can all come up, I get, yeah, just one at a time.
One at a time?
You talk.
Ma'am, I'd like to hear from all of you, you don't need to.
Okay.
All right. We're Ron and Karen Bristow. We have moved recently, about 2 years ago, down from Maryland, and we're trying to build a home on the lake.
Our dream home,
Right.
a forever home, not a visiting lake home.
But the big thing is, we found our builder through the realtor who got the property for us. And honestly, we don't know anything about building a home, never done it before, don't understand it. So I put my trust in the builder, 100%. Probably, not just probably, was a mistake. We went through probably about 6 months with essentially nothing being done. In October, we had a meeting. Karen brought up the deck. He said it won't be a problem, it's not important now. When we get to the deck, we'll do it. She asked, number one, I asked if he was even gonna be able to build the house at the price he quoted. He said yes. He said yes to her, we'd get plans. I think what he was doing, he knew he wasn't going to be able to build the house, and he kept saying yes just to end the meeting. We didn't hear from him for 2 months. We had to get a new builder. We were trying to do things quickly, so we gave Ken the plans. Ken is not at fault in anything here, because that's what we told him to build. We were not aware that we had a problem with the deck, because we were being told we wouldn't have a problem. That being, that's where we were there. We would not apply for this if we felt we were infringing upon our neighbors. There is plenty, I have some pictures here. He's got a great view off the front we looked at. He does have a view to the side as well. We're not going out, and we've not asked to go out as far as his deck goes out. So he still can see through. If we need to.
And it's only the middle section of our deck
Right.
that's in the middle of our house, because that's our main living area where we were gonna, be coming in and out the door there to go to our deck. And as I said, it's our dream home, you know, we want our grandchildren to come and visit us there, and
And everything we were told by people, and by people, I mean the builder, and I know he's not dealing with setback, but the Army Corps, is that we could not go over that line. We were told that specifically. That was the
Army
one
Corps
thing
line.
I knew. And I didn't even know that a deck was a permanent structure, but obviously it is. So all those things together, we just didn't know. And that is our fault, I agree. But what we're looking for now is the main part of our house has a 3-foot deck, which isn't enough to do anything with except walk between the two. So we're asking for a variance that will at least make it livable. As Ken said, we don't need to go out the full 9, 7 feet is plenty, because that puts us at 10, 10, 10. It goes along with the back of the house. That's what we were looking for to begin with.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
I'm looking here at the attachment number 2 that we've been given from the original house plans, or what originally was
Okay.
drawn up for the septic
Right.
tank. Is the septic tank, has it been approved since this drawing is revised and the home is revised?
It was approved for a 3-bed, I mean, I've been talking to DHEC about this. Everything was fine, we didn't have to pull another permit, it was already done. And, the house is approved, the septic tank was approved for a 3-bedroom house.
And what's this, what's being built?
It will
A
be
3-bedroom.
A 3-bedroom house was being built.
Well, my concern is looking.
It was already in and been put in.
So the
This is
septic-
kind of the problem, a little bit of the problem. He put that thing in way too early. To start.
Mr. Palmer, can you please step up to the
Yeah.
podium here?
sorry.
Yeah, that was, when I first got on the job, we actually had no idea it was in. I didn't, until we started moving dirt and I saw a big green lid. I'm going, holy crap. They've already got the septic lines in. And so that's when I started checking back to see what was going on. Septic tank was already approved, everything was in, so I was able to get the permit and keep rolling.
Okay, well, my concern is looking at what we have listed here as attachment 2, showing the drain field. That house has got to be intruding on that drain field, the way it looks.
Well, and honestly, I have no way of knowing that because all this was done, I don't know how long ago this was done.
Well, I don't want y'all to think I'm getting off subject. My point is this, is if that is not right, then the least of the concerns are probably gonna be the size of the deck, because I believe you're gonna have to either move the house around, move the septic tank around, move the septic field around, or something to, but I mean, if you've got a piece of paper from DHEC saying that you're good to go,
Yeah.
that's their baby. It just, looking at this drawing and looking at what we're looking at here, it looks to me like that footprint of that house is, like you said, has got to really.
Well, I don't know, did you guys ever see the septic tank? I never saw it.
No, I never. One of the things, though, and Ken can attest to this, there were a number of things in those drawings that didn't work when
Yeah,
Ken
I
went to
mean,
build.
when, we pretty much had to build a house every day, just measuring and getting the plans were just crap.
Let me stay, I don't think septic is our business. I don't think we're here to talk
Well, but it
septic.
is our business because of the fact if you go and you draw a permit and say, I'm gonna put a single wide trailer here, and then you come in here and you build a home, and all of a sudden DHEC says that was never permitted, then you can build all the decks you want to, but you're violating the law.
Well, I agree.
And that is under our oversight, because we do have the ability to make sure that everything, just like the core line and everything else is met, we have that ability and I think.
You have oversight of
Jurisdiction, right, on that, yeah, because what you've got here is if it has not been approved, that'd be us giving somebody the okay to go ahead and build something, when if the permit's not there, if it has not been approved, we don't have that jurisdiction to override a state jurisdiction such as DHEC.
If, to what you're saying, if it had not been approved, county would not have issued me a building permit.
Right, and I just want to make sure.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be installed to get a permit.
Ma'am?
It doesn't have to
No,
be
no,
installed
it does
to
not,
get a
no.
permit.
In this particular case, the prior builder had already put it in.
But we're not seeing the final drawing that shows how it was
Right.
installed.
And that's that's,
What we're seeing is the permit
What I
to
do know,
install.
what I do know is that, and I think I've got his, well, I had his number in my office, but I just moved out of my house, so it's packed away, so I'll probably never find it. The guy who originally put that in which Tommy, we could probably round up Tommy and find out that guy's name again, because he actually didn't live far
Well,
away.
DHEC has to have it.
yeah.
And Dick may have it too, yeah.
DHEC has to have it.
But-
What we need is the actual drawing showing how the septic tank was installed.
Well, now, I will say this, and I don't know, like I said, I don't know when this was done, and I don't know when you guys started approving, or I should say you guys, DHEC started approving all these septic tank guys to do their own inspection. That's been going on for a good while. I don't know exactly how long. So my guess is, the guy who put that in approved that himself and sent that to DHEC.
But he has to send them a final drawing.
He does, and I don't know if he's done that. That's all I'm saying.
That's not in our package, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's,
And see, it plainly says system must be 5 feet from foundation or property lines.
oh, well, it's
that
definitely
is-
more than 5 feet.
And that's, I mean, I just think if we had
Yeah.
that piece of paper, but, yeah,
Yeah, it's out in the front yard. So,
It's like up in that narrow part of the property.
yeah, I mean, I can see where it was for the house that was originally.
I mean, when we dug the footers and everything, we didn't come anywhere near any septic tank lines, or anything that made us believe that we were hitting some very soft
The
dirt.
septic tank is on the street side, not the lake side.
Ma'am?
Septic tank is.
Yeah, it's a pump system. Yeah, it's a pump system. Where it shows, I'll show you right here, where it shows the tanks going is right here, in this area. And then there'll be a line pumped into that, and I don't know the measurements, but it's way up here is where it's gonna be pumped to. So I can only assume that the guy did what he was supposed to do. I wasn't there, I don't know if they were even, knew what they were looking for, even if they did see it.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant?
Well, I guess my basic question is, for us to approve a variance, there has to be some good rationale for us to do that, because the law is the law. It says it's 10 feet, and then you want to do something different than that. So what is your primary argument as to why you think we should grant that?
Well, I understand that it's the law. We were hoping that, we really don't think we're infringing upon anybody. And we're talking about 6 feet, we're not going down to the quarter line, but, and it obviously makes it a usable deck for us.
I don't think we have
I can't,
a legal or anything like that. It's just, we were simply trying to build our house. We were told we could build our house this way. And we were trying to work it out so that we could make it happen, so that we had a deck off our main area of our house.
Sure, and I get that, I understand that.
And we don't
Don't
understand how
think
things
that's
work around here either, so we're trying.
So what are you gonna do with the garage door?
Oh, there is no garage door.
There's no garage door.
That was on the original builder's plans. He had like a wraparound deck. The deck that he had on his plans was actually gonna come down and connect to that garage. And the reason was because I was hoping my mother, who's in a wheelchair, could come and visit, and the only way she could get in was by wheelchair. Once everything changed with builders and prices and everything else, we're not doing that deck at all, we're not doing that door at all, either door off of the garage. And also, once we saw the grading, it is way up in the air. We had originally been told by Tommy that was not gonna be up in the air like that we were gonna be pretty much 1 or 2 steps up out front. It all changed. We didn't know that.
Okay, so that's not an issue as far as you know?
No, not at all. Not in our plans at all.
Any other questions of the? Thank you, appreciate it.
thank you.
Give you a while to turn here. Do you have any comments?
No, sir.
I have a couple questions about, we've talked about the septic a lot. It's the first I've heard that we have any jurisdiction over septic.
I believe the septic is part of the permitting process.
Yes.
We would have to ask the building permitting office, but I believe it's one of their check boxes. That's all I know. I really have.
My understanding is, yes, that's part of the building process and the building inspection at the
For
end and
permit,
everything.
For the permit itself.
They would need to answer to the county or any septic tank location issues or anything like that.
Right.
In
It's
addition,
DHEC.
DTEC.
They just, the permitting process is that they have a checkbox to issue the permit.
I don't-
And the septic would be one of those checkboxes.
I don't think we have any data here, official data here to talk
Amen.
about
That's
septic.
my whole point. We have no data.
But I don't
We
think,
have no permit.
yeah, but I think that, okay. Okay, Mr. Bradman, I know you had your hand in the air. Well, hang on. I'm bound by procedures here, and we had, they got to make their presentation, you got to make your presentation, they get to make rebuttal, and that's all we're allowed to do. So I'm sorry, I assume you've had everything to say that you wanted to say.
It wasn't about that, it was clarifying his question on that picture, that's in my packet.
That's right. That's the other issue I have is what we've got is some of these pictures in here are from the neighbors, not from the applicants. So we got to be careful with
That
it.
is not the septic tank permit currently.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. We can move on to consider this. Do you want to talk about it first a little bit? Anyone have any comments before we consider the
Yeah, I
actual
guess,
criteria?
Yeah, although I really feel for the applicant, and it doesn't appear as though the extension of the deck is going to interfere a lot with their neighbors, but at the same time, the law is the law. It's a 10-foot setback. Anybody that builds a house has to abide by the 10-foot setback, and if there's a rationale that would legally say that they are in a different situation and we need to do an exception, then let that go forward, but there isn't one. So I guess my feeling is, I have empathy for both parties, but the law is the law, and I don't see any rationale that we have to say that that shouldn't apply.
Especially since it was just used in another case with a guy with a
Right.
mobile home, he couldn't do what he wanted because of that.
Correct.
Right.
Good point.
Anyone else have any comments? Any kind of discussion items? Okay, we'll move on. We have 4 criteria then to consider on this request formally. The first criteria is that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. Could I have a motion, please, in the affirmative?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I don't, again, to my comments before, I don't think there are any extenuating, exceptional conditions that they have to, that would make this a unique situation.
I agree with what you're saying, even though if it were different, if they had the neighbors come in here supporting the request, we might say, well, okay, that's the case where if the neighbors are objecting, I can't agree to that. Any other? Okay, the motion is, there are extraordinary exceptional conditions. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. We have no support. Fails 0-5. I'm going to go through and review all the remaining criteria we have, but if it fails one, the whole request will fail. But I need to go through for the formality of doing the rest of these. These conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Can I have a motion in the affirmative, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further comments? Okay, all those in favor of this condition?
Yep. What was the motion again?
The motion is these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. This is a unique property, in other words. Okay, I have a motion and a second in the affirmative to that. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. We have no support. It's 0-5. 6. When did I say 5? Okay, because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. Have a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. I have no support. 05. 06. Finally, the authorization of a variance will not be a substantial detriment to adjacent uses or the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Have a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, motion fails 0-6. So in conclusion, based on the evidence presented to the board, do I hear a motion that the proposed variance be denied? Be
So-
denied.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of denying the request, raise your hand, say aye. 1, 2, 3, we have 6. Okay, it fails 6-0. That's all the business we have. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Stand adjourned. Thank you, folks.
So is that true?
Do you have a recycle paper
They're over that.
There's one over there under the clock.
on the box?
See, my whole thing about that is if you go ahead, all right, somebody does not have a use. So they've got nothing, or they have a permit that is not.
Okay,
not modified.
everyone felt the same way.
Okay, so if you don't have it,
You
we
can
sit
make a
here, we
little
put
bit of an
we
argument
put a
that
rubber
they got
stamp
that
saying, yeah,
built there,
and it's, and what they're doing is illegal.
Sounds like you got it.
Then to me,
You gotta
you're
go
responsible.
I agree.
Responsible
Yeah,
for
and
your
I mean,
property,
that-
what's
that
going
was
on
my
today.
Into your building.
I'm not saying I don't think we want to take DA, but that was my.
Fly by night?